Hey there, this is Jeanette from Mindful Dexter with a mindfulness practice that I'd like to share with you today. This practice is an interesting one because it's actually a series of 3 short practices, one after the other, and each one is just a little bit longer than the one before it. And this practice was inspired by a teacher called Elka Pierre, who teaches meditation in Marion, Massachusetts, and I thank her for the inspiration. So let's begin by arranging your posture in your seat. I'm going to recommend that whatever position you choose, just try to keep your knees not higher than your hips. And your back is nice and tall, but not stiff, not forced. The goal here is just to feel at home in your own skin. Sometimes it kind of helps to think of stacking your spine tall, almost like a helium balloon. It's just gently giving you a little bit of buoyancy, a little bit of a light, supported feeling. And I want to invite you to take your hands together and lay them one over the other on your belly. And just start to feel those slight movements of your body. A lot of people like to close their eyes for this part, so if you want, you can do that. And just noticing what it feels like in your abdomen to breathe as the breath is slowly traveling in and out of your body. And I should mention, this is not really a time where you need to worry about changing your breath or deepening it. This is really just a practice of noticing. And we're going to do this for about a minute. I will watch our time, and all you got to do here is notice the sensations of your hands, your belly, your chest, your shoulders, whatever sensations happen to present themselves as you breathe. And we'll start that 1 minute right now. And that ends our 60 seconds. Now, during that time, you probably became very aware that the mind is sometimes a really complicated and really busy place. We aren't going to really be able to stop that. We don't even try to stop that. Thoughts are not a bad thing, even though sometimes it might feel frustrating that we, can't shut our mind off. That stream of thinking is really just part of the human experience. We all share that. All we're trying to do when we practice mindfulness is to just become more aware of those thoughts when they arise. Now, the second part of our meditation, this next part is 2 minutes. And while you're getting, comfortable with maybe repositioning or stretching, if you'd like to do that, I'll share with you a little metaphor that sometimes Jack Kornfield uses, this illustration. He's a meditation teacher, and he talks about how most of us at any given phase of our life have about 10 stories that are kind of moving around in our head, maybe 10 different priorities that we think about a lot, or some of them might be, concerns or plans or some variety of self-talk. But generally, these are things that our mind tends to come back to over and over. And he talks about these stories, these thoughts, each of them being like a train coming by as we are standing at a platform. And in meditation, we're practicing not getting on the train. We know from past experience we can get on any one of those trains, right? And ride them for a really long time. But we're not changing anything by getting on the train, right? And it might be kind of a new concept that we can notice the train coming, and it might even stop at the platform right in front of where we're standing, but we can notice it without getting on, without riding it. So this next period of silence will be all about watching the trains. And often, because we do tend to kind of come back, to the same 10 or so thoughts quite often, it's possible, it might even be likely that you can recognize and name those trains when they come by. Maybe you'll say to yourself, oh, that's the job thought, or that's the relationship thought, or that's the parenting thought, or that's the future plans thought. So during this time of our meditation, see if you can practice just staying on the platform and watching the train go by. You can give it a name if you want to, and then just send it on its way. You know where it's going. You've ridden it lots of times. And then sit and wait to see if another train comes. And if none does, then that's totally fine. You can rest your attention on your breathing again, perhaps, if you want to. We don't need to call for the train to come necessarily, but just to practice being skillful about noticing the trains when they do come. So this time we'll be in silence for 2 minutes. I'll mind the time and I'll let you know when the 2 minutes is up. And as our 2-minute meditation comes to a close, the third mindfulness tool that I want to invite you to experiment with today for our final practice is to use a word or a phrase. Sometimes people call this a mantra, but if that weirds you out, you could just call it a word or a phrase, right? You can certainly pick a word or phrase of your own choosing. You might even have something in mind already. I'll offer you a few ideas, which you can take up if you want to. Often, for me, it helps to think in terms of pairs, like one word or phrase for my inhale, and then another word or phrase for the exhale. So, for example, sometimes I do this. On my inhale, I might say in my head silently, I know I am breathing in. And then on the exhale, say, I know I am breathing out. And another one that's shorter but also helpful to me is to say silently in my mind, gratitude on the inhale and kindness on the exhale. Or for you, maybe it would be more helpful to use words that represent something you aspire to, maybe the words peace and contentment. It doesn't really matter, actually, as long as the words you choose are an expression of kindness to yourself. So just linking one word or phrase to your inhale and then another to your exhale. So we'll do this for about 3 minutes. And know that we will get distracted. 3 minutes can seem like kind of a long time, but our job is to just come back to what we're focusing on, using those words or phrases, matching our breath to the words. So we'll do this for 3 minutes, and we'll begin those 3 minutes now. And as our 3 minutes comes to a close here, once again, you can move around if you need to, maybe stretch a little bit. You have total permission right now to fidget if that feels good. And I want to leave you with one thought as we close our meditation today. And this also is a quote from Jack Kornfield. He is the same person who is the source of the train metaphor that we talked about earlier. He says, have respect for yourself and patience and compassion. With these, you can handle anything. And with that, I wish you good things in your life and in your practice. Thanks for meditating with me today.